like to welcome in Caroline Haase-Hegg from Augusta University. Appreciate you taking the time out and talking with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to do it. Nicole's been a buddy for a long time, and I actually began my golf career up in the Chicago suburbs.
I read that.
A
That's
long
awesome.
time ago. So I know of Mistwood very well, and know the great work you all do with junior players up there. So happy to help if I can in any way.
Cool. Run us through kind of some more, get a little bit deeper kind of in the background. What was your background before getting to Augusta and everything else? Looks like it was quite a cool track record.
Yeah, it's I've got a track record now, that's for sure. I'm from north central Indiana, middle of nowhere, a little town called Culver. Grew up playing golf from the day I could hold a club, probably 3 years old or so, with my father and my older brother. Got pretty serious pretty quickly as a young kid, and it was great for me. I think that I was really passionate about it from a young age, and I think that's the difficulty you get into when I see parents and kids is the kid is into it as the parent is, and I was, from my perspective, and grew up just kind of realizing I had a knack for it young, and so golf has been really the key component of my life for as long as I can remember. And then once it started snowing, I'd play basketball, and then take up golf again come March when we could. And when I was a young player, I kind of knew I was on a good trajectory to play high level junior golf and college golf, and people would ask me, where are you going to go? You know, like they do everyone, where do you want to go? And I would say, I have no idea, but it's not going to be around these parts. I can tell you that much. I'm getting the heck out of the Midwest. And then I ended up going to Purdue University, 90 miles away from where I grew up. But,
yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where what I thought I wanted or needed, it became apparent to me in the recruiting process that maybe what I thought I wanted wasn't what was going to be best for me. And I fell in love with Purdue and Coach Browse, who's still a second father figure to me. Talk to him probably more than I talk to my dad, which probably isn't good, but you know, Purdue was a perfect fit for me personally at the point in my life I was at, and I was really glad and grateful to play on some really good teams there. I was done with golf when I graduated college. I taught for a year and got accepted into law school, and I was going to go do something completely different. Wow. And I just realized about 6 months into interning at Culver Academies, where I grew up, that I missed it, and that it was an important part of who I was. And even though I was trying to get away and see if my life was going to take me in another direction, I realized that golf was what I wanted to be around. And so I got into the business side of it, the green grass side of it, spent a year in the Chicago area, then a year and a half or so on the Robert Trent Jones Trail. After my first winter as an assistant golf pro in Chicago, I realized that that's tough. And then when the Purdue assistant coaching job opened up in 2010, I called Coach Browse and said, hey, I'm ready. And he thought about it for a while. He said, Caroline, I have head coaches applying for this assistant coaching job. They had just won the national championship in 2010. Wow. And so I was stepping into a big time assistant's job. And he eventually called me back and he said, you know what? I realized that I'd rather have somebody I can trust than somebody that just has a bigger resume than you. So he hired me, and I spent 5 years at Purdue as the assistant, and have been here at Augusta now since 2015. So I'm beginning my we're in the middle of my 8th season here. So
and you guys have had quite a bit of success. I've noticed that.
We've done well. You know, as a competitor in the coach in me, we can always do better. And I think we're set up for a really good spring. We've gonna have 2 girls in the lineup that we didn't have in the fall due to various issues, that are really, really talented, and that I'm really excited to see what we can do come February.
That's awesome. So how do you and Nicole know each other? Without getting too.
We got connected.
PG now, PG girls.
Very PG. we got connected just through friends. I mean, Augusta is a golf town. And so I just mutual friends, and we played some golf together and became friendly, and just she would come out here and practice with our team from time to time, which I'm huge on. If I can have really successful long career pros coming out and letting my girls see that and see how they work and see how they think, I think that's some of the best teaching I can give them, is having people like Nicole at my facility and having her go out. You know, I'll never forget, I was telling my new assistant one time, you know, like I think the last 10 year here, I had a pretty darn good little team, and they're out pounding 260-yard drives, and they're playing with Nicole, and, you know, she pops it down the middle and it's got about 160 and pops a hybrid to about 4 or 5 feet and makes a birdie. And they're sitting there going, okay.
Golf can be played two different ways.
Her team was bombing it past me. Like, and I just like hit it down the middle, hit it on the green.
I'll never forget. It was on the second hole here. You were probably about 160 yards and just made a nice little smooth hybrid swing. And one of my girls looks at me and goes, I get it now. I get how she's played golf so long, so successfully. I said, yeah, there's more to it than just hitting it as far as we want to. But no, so yeah, I haven't seen Nicole in a long time, so it's great to see you.
Cool.
Yes. Thank you for doing this. This is really good. It's going to be really helpful.
Absolutely.
As far as the what's your kind of, you know, give us a general overview of kind of your recruiting process. How do you kind of go about finding your players?
That is more than that's a loaded question.
Yes, it is.
You know, every kid is different. How the story of how you get this one or that one is different. I think for me personally, I'm not a football coach bringing in 25 kids a year. I'm bringing in 2, maybe 3.
Right.
Some years 1, some years 4. You know, but I'm looking at a really specific group of girls. I am not a bulk recruiter. Sometimes I wish I were a little bit more of that, where I'm talking to 50 girls at once. I really try to hone in on ones that I think fit not just Augusta, but that Augusta fits them. I think that gets lost sometimes, is that I can go after the best players in the world, and I do. But if they're looking for, you know, an SEC football environment or a bioengineering degree, those aren't things that are going to fit with Augusta. So it's important to me to identify kids who not only fit my goals as a coach and our goals as a program, but also, are you going to be happy here? Are you going to fit, you know, or is it going to be a reciprocal relationship? And so I have a heavily international team, not exclusively by any means, but I think there's lots of talent all over the globe and in my backyard. And personally, I try to make sure I'm recruiting my area. I know who's who, and I know who's coming up and who might fit around me. And then I'm trying to put feelers out and network and know who's across the globe. Right now, I've got an American, a Canadian, a Malaysian, a Thai, a Spaniard, and a Swiss, and a Mexican. So
how the heck, I mean, this kind of runs in maybe the next question, but like, how do these players get on your radar? Is it just purely, you know, like junior golf scoreboard or ranking systems or stuff like that? Like, how do they even get on your scoreboard or scorecard? Or on your radar? Sorry, are they reaching out to you to kind of help the process along? How's that working?
Every story is different. Sometimes, I mean, I'm big on I want to see kids before I'm really going too far into the process. I mean, yeah. Scores are obviously important. Junior golf scoreboard, obviously, I'm looking at that. But to me, that is one small component of what I'm recruiting, because where you are at 16, hopefully is not where you're going to be in 6 years when you're walking out the door of my building for the last time. It's identifying talent, scoring, fundamentals, but then also really trying to understand how involved and how committed that player is going to be to improving in their time here. And that's the hard part for me. to really identify, because Nicole, Andy, I mean, if your goal is to get a college scholarship and have that achievement, that's awesome. But when you step in the door of your college facility, that's over. And you've got to be 100% committed to a lot of things that sometimes aren't really fun. Are you going to put in the work and put in the time and put in the frustration sometimes of being on a team and dealing with a coach with high expectations? And is your heart going to be in it for the next 4 years? And that to me is the really hard part. And the thing that I try to stress to recruits is like, the recruiting process sometimes can become the entire focal point, but that's just getting in the door. What are you going to do with your opportunity that you're given? Are you going to maximize where you're at in the right fit and doing the things you need to improve to go forward? And that's the tricky part. And that's a long-winded answer, but I recruit based on the stats and the scores that we see. I ask my assistant, because he's much, much, much more organized than I am not organized. So we're a good fit. But, so are we tracking our list of kids on ranking systems on our spreadsheets? Are we reaching out to them? Are they reaching out to us? Are we getting the information we want to know to first identify if they're a good candidate? And then after that box is checked, how are we getting out to visit them or evaluate them and meet with them in person?
How early for you does this all start?
Depends on the kid.
Okay.
I mean, I was out yesterday in the freezing cold in North Carolina watching 2025 and a 2026 and 2024. But then, I mean, there are times where, we just started signing week. There have been girls that come into my radar 3 weeks, 4 weeks prior. And we end up signing. And so I'm not one that rushes it for a lot of reasons. One, I think who you are at 15 or 16 is probably, for any of us, not who you are when you're 18 or 19. Jeannie Sutherland, who's the Nebraska coach now, back when I was a young coach, we were talking about a kid and she said, "Oh, that kid's too young to recruit." And I said, "Well, she's really good." She said, "Yeah, but she doesn't know the ABCs yet. Alcohol, boys, and cars." And
Alcohol what?
Alcohol, boys, and cars.
There you go. I love
And
it.
I always love that. The
I'm
ABC,
writing that down.
it's a good one. That's all credit to Jeannie Sutherland. I don't know where she got it from, but there's something to be said for that. A lot of times also, a late bloomer who's playing really well when they're 18 is on the trajectory I'm looking for them to be on too. I've seen a lot of kids. I was kind of one of them. My best days might have been at 16 or 17 for a few years. And then I got better in college eventually. But there's a stall point sometimes with kids also. And so I don't mind personally kind of hanging in there a little late and seeing and keeping a spot open and seeing what materializes, because I think a lot of times recruiting becomes a race, and it is anything but. It should be methodical and slow, and it should be a process that's done really thoughtfully. I think from my standpoint as a coach and from the kids and their family standpoints, it is not a race. And if a coach is putting pressure on you to make a decision when you're 16 or just turned 17 and you don't want to, don't do it. They're putting pressure on you for selfish reasons. They're doing it because they want to say to their AD, "I got my recruiting all checked up for 2024, boss." And that's good, but that doesn't mean it's good for the kid. If you're Rose Zhang and you're going to go to Stanford from the time you're 16, different story. But that's the exception that proves the rule. For 98% of the kids out there, I think that they need to take their time, visit a lot of schools, talk to coaches, learn what you like, learn what you don't like about that place, about that coach. None of us are perfect, and no place is perfect, no school is perfect, but there might be a perfect fit if you take the time to really do the process thoughtfully.
It's funny. Coach Small talked about that. We interviewed Mike Small last week. He was talking about that same kind of upward trajectory. Nicole, when you were in college, did you kind of hit the ground running right away and kind of upward movement? Caroline, the same way. Were you up, or when I got in, I kind of went backwards and then finally found my way up.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer, and my college coach recruited me based on the fact that she saw potential in me and she liked my attitude on the golf course. And that's why she recruited me, and she knew I would get better. And then when I got to college, I just got really good.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I stalled.
You stalled?
I stalled for a year and actually started playing my best golf towards the end of my sophomore. I got a little more comfortable. I got a little bit more self-sufficient. I think I was a very mature person. I went to boarding school in high school. I knew the drill. School was easy for me, but when it came to stepping up to the competition level I was at a top 25 Division I program, I was not ready, and it affected my confidence. And it took me some time, and I played my best golf towards the end of my sophomore year and the beginning of my junior year, for that reason, because I became confident in what I was doing, not trying to do, to be honest, everything my coach was telling me to do. I had to figure out what worked for me, because when push comes to shove, it's my name with the number next to it on the scoreboard, not anybody else's. And learning that process took me a little time.
So the conversations come up with multiple coaches, and especially now with COVID and the limited, or now they're kind of coming off of like all the COVID stuff as far as scholarships go. A lot of them are talking about like finding the right fit, as opposed to like what was that kind of dream school that was out there. Can you talk to the importance of finding that right fit for not only you, but for the student athlete as well?
I mean, what you just said to me, the dream school is the right fit. I mean, the right fit is all that matters. Because if Stanford is your dream school, and I keep saying that because they are so much darn better than the rest of us right now, like Duke was when I was a kid. And if that's your dream school, that's awesome. But does that fit? There's more to life than just golf, and there's more to college than just golf. And if you're not happy on the course, in the classroom, and in your home, wherever you're living, that's not a dream. That can be a nightmare if one of those pieces isn't fitting properly. And I really, really think that it's great to have your dream school. Please go after your dream school, whatever that might be, but keep in mind where you fit there. Is it going to fit what you want to do, or is there going to be some disappointment in the future if you're, if you go to, and I'm not just talking about the golf side of things. If you know in your heart you want to go be an engineer, and you go to Augusta or you go to UGA, you're not going to be accomplishing the things you want to do. And that's not a dream. And so, if you want to be close to home, but your best offer is in, I don't know, Montana.
Sure.
That's not a dream. And so if you want to get away from home, and those things matter just as much as scholarship and as golf, to be perfectly honest. And because if you're not happy outside of my facility, by the time you get here, you're still not going to be happy. And I can be the best coach in the world. This can be the best opportunity for you as a golfer. But if it doesn't all fit, it's not going to be a very successful environment long term.
So Nicole, you're arguably the best competitive women's golfer to come out of the state of Illinois. And if I were to give people 5 choices, there's no way that they would choose Northern Illinois. What was it that made that the right fit at the time? And like coaching somebody through that process, I think there's a lot of valuable information there.
Yes. So when I was looking, I mean, there wasn't as many options as there are now.
Mm-hmm.
But basically my choices were Illinois, NIU, and Illinois State. And the best options would have been Illinois or Northern, because I wanted to be a business major, and those were the two best business schools. So those were the two I was mostly looking at. And Illinois, I liked the coach better at NIU, and Illinois didn't offer me a full scholarship. And so that's why I went with Northern Illinois. And I was very happy with my choice, and I loved my coach. Like, my coach was the best, and she got coach of the year. Like, she's been coach of the year like 3 times or something. She's just really, really good. And I liked the school. I liked the business school. I liked the girls on the team. It was a good atmosphere. And so that's what made me want to go there. I mean, ideally, I wanted to go to a small school, and I wanted to go south, but nobody was really interested. So, you just make the best of whatever situation you choose. And so it all worked out for me.
That's cool. That's great. I just lost my train of thought.
I'd like to know, Caroline, do you look at web pages? Do kids have web pages? I am like, all these people are talking about how they need to build web pages for the athletes so that college coaches can find them better.
I mean, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that the production value is far overhyped and marketed. And there's a lot of people making a lot of money telling young kids, you have to pay me $5,000 or X number of dollars for different level services for me to help you. And there are some really good ones too. Don't get me wrong. There's some great men and women out there who really help guide kids through the process of identifying what they want, where they fit, and those sort of things. But I think I tell kids, that I know here in town or those sort of things, you don't need to have music on a YouTube video and a 10-minute intro. I want to see your fundamentals. I want to see some encore shots, not just things with a track man behind you. I think we look at everything, right? I mean, it's a scavenger hunt part of the time. We're always searching, always looking. And on the one hand, there's 2 of us in this building recruiting young women to be on our team, and we could spend 80 hours a week doing that and still miss kids, right? So any opportunity you have to create something that's going to catch our eye, I mean, those things are meaningful. But I think that just because you have a great webpage doesn't mean I'm going to evaluate you differently, right? I mean, we're here for the nuts and bolts of what sort of person are you? What sort of family situation are you going to bring to the table? What are you shooting? And where are you talent-wise and fundamental-wise to continue to improve? Like those are the questions that need to be answered. I'll never forget, this is a number of years ago now, back when we used to get lots of DVDs in the mails from kids. One kid sent one with a bag of popcorn and like some candy in it.
Smart.
It was pretty smart.
Smart.
I looked at it, like I don't always look at every single one, but I looked at it, and I was at a camp with a college coaches camp, and somebody else was like, I got one with popcorn in it. I said, I do too. Yeah, I mean, you can bribe your way into maybe getting a little more attention with a bag of popcorn, but it's not necessary. And I just really caution kids to make sure, if you go into those sort of services, which can be wonderful, make sure it's someone who really knows college golf, whether it was a player or a coach, or and who's going to guide you one-on-one to understand what your goals are and what your aspirations are and help fit you to the right place for both sides. Because
what's your definition of a good parent advocate in that process, and one that's detrimental? I know, like, I have a daughter, very protective of her, and I imagine that probably parents are a little more protective of girls traditionally than boys, right? So how does that all play into this?
It's part of the relationship I have to build with the recruit, and also building a relationship with the family. I mean, my first kind of, I trust a lot on my intuitions and on my instincts and years of experience and just kind of understanding people. Is my first question is, who's the decision maker? Because I hope it's the kid, but sometimes I don't think that's necessarily the case. How much personal accountability is this recruit going to have? Or, am I going to be coaching the whole family here for the next 4 years? I mean, to be perfectly honest, I want a young woman who's going to come into my building and grow up and be accountable to me and accountable to her teammates. And I'm not necessarily looking to coach 16 parents also through our daily things. And I'm not going to do everything perfectly either. But I usually, what I'm doing is for a reason. If I'm asking your kid to work harder or do certain things, and I want them to be accountable to me, not just home. That might be long-winded, but I think a lot of it's just relationship building. Or is the parent going to trust me to make the best decisions for your child and for my university and the athletic program that I answer to? And that can certainly, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I haven't crossed some kids off my list because of the parents.
Sure.
And I'd be lying too if I didn't, I had a girl who I recruited my first year here, where I was kind of scrambling to get my own footing and my own recruits in the door. And I met with her and her father, and I was blown away by the maturity and the way she had been raised. And I knew she could help me in the future. She wasn't a top 50 kid in the rankings, but I loved the kid. I loved the maturity across the board with her family. I knew that she was going to be coachable and that whatever decisions I made were going to stand. Because of the way the father interacted with me, and I took a flyer on a kid for that reason. And she turned out to be she's my volunteer assistant now. She's been in Augusta for 7 years. Can't get her to leave. So I think it's really important for family to be involved, to get to know the coach, but also to respect the position that I'm going to be in with your daughter if they come to my school, which is an adult relationship. I don't treat my girls like kids. I treat them like young adults and give them the accountability and the respect. I think it's respect, from my point, to trust them to do things the right way. And then if they're not, well, then we're going to have some discussions.
That's awesome. What types of things do you see lacking in incoming freshmen's games that you feel like they could possibly take advantage of? A good teacher, a good coach coming into college that could be better.
Wedge play, 100 yards and in. I mean,
there you go.
100 yards and in. I mean, it's one thing.
We're gonna have this cool video compilation of all you coaches saying this.
Wedge play.
Play. I mean, I'll never forget years ago. I'm full of stories. I apologize, but we were playing with Duke. This is when I was still at Purdue. We were good. We were ranked 18th, 20th. We were landfall in Wilmington, North Carolina, on this not reachable par 5. And my girls are hitting it up there, 15, 20 feet. I think we made one birdie. And I watched all 5 Duke girls hit it inside 12 feet and make 4. A couple of them like this, a couple of them 10 feet. They made 4 birdies. We made 1. That's it. I mean, no one's going to shoot 10 under on the par 4s or par 3s on a round, or very rarely. But if you can score when you're on a par 5, I don't care how far you hit it. If you can hit a wedge 82 yards when you have 82 yards to the pin, you're going to score. If you can get out of trouble and wedge it close, you're going to be able to scramble. And that's what college golf is really all about. You're going to courses all across the country on different turfs. Some are great, some kind of suck, but you for the most part, until your senior year, you're probably not going to know many of the courses. You're not going to feel comfortable the first time you tee it up in competition when we go down to Florida in February. I don't care how much we practice and prepare for that golf course. You get one practice round. You just came straight off the bus the day before. You were in class the day before that. make it easy on yourself. You can work at home on the things that are going to help you be successful, like wedge play and scrambling, and, you know, making sure you're making the putts that statistically we should be making. You're going to play fine. And college golf is really hard in that aspect. You're never fully prepared to compete because of all the things you have going on. The weather sucks half the time, especially if you go where like Nicole and I did and you're stupid and you stay in the Midwest. I mean, it's going, we played in, I'm the Augusta coach. We went and played an IU's tournament last April and it snowed. Those are not ideal situations. So control the things you can control. I'm going to be really impressed with a kid. You know, I was watching a girl yesterday. She doesn't hit it very far. But her wedge game really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Her scrambling really stood out to me. It was polished. I could tell she's being instructed well. I can probably get her a little stronger. You know, I think she's strong. I think her athleticism and her distance is going to be there. But she already showed me she's got some of the aspects that are going to make her a solid college golfer. And that sort of stuff stands out to me.
You find there's a lack of creativity too?
Yes.
Okay.
I find that if I took this computer out to our practice screen right now, I think I would find that sometimes too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, and not just around the greens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think sometimes TrackMan's turned us into robots where we're trying to maximize our numbers. And you know, my question is, what if we just try to hit a cut starting there and finishing there and hit some shots today?
Totally.
Let's not
just, we make this point all the time with our, or maybe internally we do more than we do with our kids. It's like, just because this kid can shoot 72 doesn't mean he knows why he did it.
Right.
Right. And so kind of the more calls that we've done with more of the coaches, like, I feel like a lot of your guys' job is raising their golf IQ.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a big part of it. I think I am not, I mean, I know the golf swing very well. I can help, but I'm not a swing coach. I am not here the minute you walk in the door to rebuild your mechanics. I am here to help you control your mind and control your composure and performance throughout a round better. Understand the different challenges ahead of you and hit the best shot available and to get them better from 100 yards and in. I mean, that's my job. We did something the other day where, I mean, I just picked really simple chips around the green, really simple. I mean, ones that they should be making, and made them chip in from all these different spots with 3 different clubs at each spot. And you would think I just, you know, killed their puppy because they can't use their 58 on each one. You're gonna be fine, right? You know, like let's just try something different. See how the ball's reacting. Find some different landing zones and just see the ball go in the hole too. But I just think pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, trying to do everything perfectly and finding some alternatives is really make practice fun and is really important for your performance on the golf course.
Like Nicole, with your experience, like how is your practice really evolved away from that at all, as far as what you're doing in college to now?
I think I became a better practicer once I was like playing professionally.
Yeah.
You're always learning. I mean, even to this day, I think I might be a better practicer. You know, we're always learning, but I mean,
but your emphasis is like percent.
You have to do some block practice where you're working on technique, but a lot of, you know, your other practice needs to be performance oriented and, you know, going through your routine and acting like you're on the golf course and, you know, setting goals and putting yourself under pressure and, you know, hitting different shots, like 3 different clubs, same shot, or the same shot, same club, 3 different shots with the same club. I mean, that kind of stuff it teaches you how to play. It teaches you how, you know, what the ball's doing, what the club's doing, and how to make it do different things. And you also learn what you're good at.
Yeah. What type of things, Caroline, what type of things are you girls practicing like on a regular basis versus like Is there like stuff that you actually, one of the other coaches called it as daily vitamin. This daily vitamin was the inside of 100. So they always do 100, 90, 80, all the way down. Is there like a daily vitamin that you guys do? Is it much in the same? Is it?
I'm big on goal-oriented, measurable daily challenges. Whether we'll do I usually give my kids 1 or 2 days a week where, all right, come check in with me. Let's talk. What do you want to do today? What do you need to accomplish? And then I let them go. Because I think a big part of being a successful player is having the self-awareness and knowing what's in your own head, being thoughtful about it, and spending time on your own. Because I can design a perfect practice for myself, but if I make Nicole do that same thing, is it what she needs? Then we'll spend usually 2 days a week either completely structured out here with measurable, definable challenges and goals and drills that are almost always wedge play or things around the greens or putting drills. This semester, because I have a young team that I think I know they've played tight at times. We've spent, for the last month of our season, when we were here having team practice, we were on the golf course the entire time. We were either playing matches, we were playing different club challenges, we were playing different tee boxes, we were playing, I call it Super Bowl, a 2-ball scramble with yourself, and seeing who makes the most birdies. We were setting up wedge challenges on the holes as we progressed, and hitting 2 balls and then having to play in the worst one from a wedge distance to try to reinforce that if you can hit 2 solid wedge shots, you're probably ahead of the game, right? It doesn't always need to be perfect, but how can we be happy out here? So every team needs different things. Every player needs different things. I've learned a lot recently to try to be a lot more aware of what one kid might need as opposed to another, because I have a little bit of a needy group right now. But my big thing, and if I could tell kids anything, is get on the golf course as much as you physically can. Even if it's your practice, hit shots, go out on the golf course. That's where you get better, is on the golf course. We all need block practice. We all need technique work, but that will never be perfect. Henrik Norlander is out here a ton. He played at Augusta State back in the day. Still practices out here a couple days a week. And he's one of the most thoughtful guys I've been around. And he asked my girls, I always ask him hey, Henrik, talk about your wedge practice. Will you talk about your wedges for an hour with my girls? And then within 10 minutes, it just deteriorates into him talking about his experiences and what he does. It's not about wedges at all. And it's so great. And he asked the girls, he said, he had an okay year. He said, guess how many days I had my A game? And they said, this is a dude who's made millions. I said, I don't know, 50% of the time. He said, one day. Last year in my 23 events, I had my A game. One day. He said, I can stand here, and Henrik's one of the best iron players on tour. He said, golf is not about, hitting perfect shots. Golf's about how you play and knowing what's going on and figuring out where you can be successful from and make money from at that level. And you learn that on the golf course. And I think especially when you're struggling, you're going to get out of that on the golf course, not on the driving range. Coach Browse used to say, you're going to find your game the same place you lost it. And that's not on the driving range. It's on the golf course.
Oh, I like that.
I'm a firm believer in that.
I like that a lot. Cole, you touched on it with scholarships. What's the scholarship landscape in the women's game? I know it's a little bit better than the men's side if we're doing things equal, but you want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that it's no secret that there's going to be some big changes in the NCAA in the next 12 to 18 months. when it comes to scholarships, and I'm really interested to see how it all shapes out. Because I really don't know. I think that there's going to be more opportunities for kids, but how the money is spread out, I think is going to change. But we'll see, because with the NCAA, it's like we're building a boat as we're trying to sail in the past 4 or 5 years, and that's created challenges. But I think that what makes it hard on the women's side is part of what makes it better than the men's side, which is that there are a lot of full scholarships available to players, regardless of where you might be in your game right now. There are a lot of coaches, and I'm one of them, not exclusively, where a full scholarship is something I'm offering fairly regularly to kids.
Mm.
But then I'm recruiting a girl right now from South Carolina who's got big scholarship offers to some smaller schools. And she has the challenge of deciding if that's the most important thing, or if being in a better program where I think she has the opportunity to continue an upward trajectory and play at a higher level, is that her priority? And whereas on the men's side, it's a little bit more of a bargaining, haggling. You're offering me 40, I want 50. I mean, on the women's side, if you're a really strong player, you can probably get a full somewhere. But I think that comes, and obviously financially, that can be a game changer that's important. But once again, is that your deciding factor, or is it the quality of the experience you're going to have that's the deciding factor? And so it's tricky, and I see it from both sides. My job is to bring in the best players I can and do it as smartly and as efficiently as I can from a scholarship basis. And that's not the same goal sometimes as a recruiter, their parents. So it can get tough, but I think that there are golf on the women's side is still a great sport to be able to fund your college through. It's getting harder, but there's lots of opportunities out there, lots of different programs across the country, and it's going to be interesting to see how things change in the next couple of years.
Well, we appreciate your time quite a bit today and everything else. My last question, I promise, unless Nicole's got something. So obviously swing and execution is important. But on the other side, what type of mental things or consistent mental things are you guys working on, you girls working on, in order to just consistently deliver a good performance? Is it, or kind of what type of things are you doing, like leading up to tournaments? Really, more importantly.
Well, like I said, I think that every player is different. Every player's arousal level on the golf course needs to be different, right? But at the same time, I think the harder I can make practice, the harder I can make the things that we do on a daily basis, the more ready to face adversity, which is what golf is just a bunch of adversity, the more ready they're going to be to accomplish those things on the golf course. And so I'm trying to get my kids to understand, we were sitting down and going through our end of the fall stats with a kid. I forget what day, it's all blur, but and understanding that our last round of the fall season, she shot 2 under. Okay, good job. She made 6 birdies, a triple, and a bogey. And what was the triple from? Hitting a bad shot, and then instead of taking her medicine and being patient and getting back in play, trying to be a hero from the trees with a gap this big and nowhere to go, right? Mm-hmm. And what should have been a 67 or better turned into a 70. And understanding, to me, I think the hardest thing, and it's so easy for us to say as coaches, and Nicole gets it better than I or as a player, is like, bad shots happen.
Hold on. They do? You sure?
Yes. I
Hold
swear.
on. Okay.
You're going to hit bad shots. You're just going to. I don't care. Henrik Norlander has his A game one day a year. So we can't expect to have our A game every time we tee it up. but can you follow that bad shot with the one that's going to get you back in position? Or are we trying to do too much? Are we letting that shot before affect what we go through on the next one? Is it a roller coaster, or are we chugging along the way we should? And finding your rhythm and finding your own tempo and pace mentally on the golf course is something that's really hard to do, and it's really hard to teach. But when they get it, it's really fun to watch. And so a lot of it with me, you know, Coach Browse would say he wasn't a golf coach, he was a psychologist. And maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But I think so much of what my job is to do is to help kids get comfortable on the golf course. And that takes time and it takes understanding. If you see me and my assistant on a course in a tournament, you're not going to see us zooming around in a golf cart from par 3 to par 3 to par 3. You're going to see me with one kid walking the round, and you're going to see him with another kid. And maybe we'll switch to another, but usually not. Usually I want to spend 18 holes with one of my players learning what they're doing, observing, you know, and then also helping them get into a mindset and a rhythm that is productive.
All right, I have a bonus question now. I lied. So hearing that, I think one of the hardest hurdles for good players to just blow right through is going low, right? Is there
Is the what? Sorry.
Is going low.
Yeah.
It is just kind of blowing through that wall that's there, that, like, you know, we see it with a lot of college players. I remember when I was in college kind of experiencing it until I felt comfortable with it, was like, you get 3 or 4 under, you know, let's say in the first 9, and then it's like, well, I can just back it off a 10, still have a pretty good round, right?
Yeah. You know, or, oh, I really don't want this to stop. How do I keep it going? And you start pushing harder instead of doing what you've been doing. Yeah. You know, the hardest birdie is the one to go from 1 under to 2 under. But once again, I think it goes down to your comfort. Are you comfortable with where you are in the round, with where your game is? Are you trying to be perfect? Are you trying to push? Are you trying to do more? Or are you finding pleasure in the present and in the moment and figuring out a way for that to be a perfectly happy place to be? Whether you're 2 under trying to get to 3, or you're 2 over trying to get it back down. I think comfort and being in that present moment is the key to both ends of the spectrum. When it's going haywire or when it's going great, you've got to stay present and stay where your feet are. And my girls are used to hearing me say that, where your feet, you know, and they look around and say, 150 out on 17, coach. Okay, perfect. Let's stay here. Let's stay right here and just hit the best shot we can. And I mean, if there were a secret to learning all those things, we'd be doing good. So if you all figure it out, let me know. But I just think it comes down to really finding what works for you and being really, really comfortable with where you are.
That's awesome. Caroline, we can't thank you enough. I think it's going to be very valuable stuff, and good luck the rest of the way.
My pleasure. Thank you. Nicole, great to see you, kiddo.
Great job, Carolina. Very impressed. Very helpful. You're the best.
I'm far from it, but if you're ever back, you want to get out of the cold, come play some golf.
Thank you. I need to get back down there.
All right. Good to meet you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure. See y'all.
Bye.